You may have lost weight before. Maybe your waist shrunk, the scale dropped a few pounds. But there's something you can't see in the mirror or measure with a tape. Visceral fat, the deep hidden layer wrapped around your liver, heart, pancreas, and intestines. And if you've ever wondered, what really happens when this dangerous fat starts to break down? You've just landed on the right video. Visceral fat isn't just fat. It's a hidden endocrine system, silently releasing inflammatory signals, disrupting insulin, hijacking your hunger, draining your energy, and making fat loss feel impossible. But when visceral fat begins to dissolve, your body doesn't just get lighter, it rebuilds itself from the inside out. The liver becomes efficient, the heart breathes easier, the brain wakes up, the gut microbiome regenerates, and your hormones start speaking clearly again. It's like a silent biological revolution. This video isn't just about fat. It's about the rebirth of a body finally freed from its silent burden. If you care about real health, about the hidden systems that govern your energy, emotions, and aging, hit that subscribe button now and stay until the end. Because what's blocking your transformation may not be weak willpower, but a layer of fat you've never even seen. We often imagine fat burning as a brute force battle. Run more, eat less. Squeeze your belly as if you're signing a contract with the devil. But when it comes to visceral fat, the process begins far more quietly. No sirens, no fireworks. Just tiny biochemical signals like encrypted emails quietly sent out during your lunch break. When your body senses an energy shortage, say, from fasting or burning through glucose, a coded message is discreetly dispatched inside your cells. That message is crystal clear. Time to unlock the deep reserves visceral fat. Your turn. Why visceral fat first? Because it's closest to command central, nestled right next to major blood vessels, and highly sensitive to metabolic hormones like insulin, cortisol, and catecholamines. If your body were a city, visceral fat would live in the capital, just minutes away from every major decision maker. Meanwhile, subcutaneous fat lives in the suburbs. So when the signal arrives, visceral fat doesn't quietly disappear like a disgraced aristocrat. No, it acts like a biochemical messenger, melting its stored reserves and releasing high-energy molecules, especially free fatty acids, into the bloodstream. But these aren't just fuel. They're urgent memos, alerting the liver, muscles, heart, and pancreas. New plan, folks. Stop burning sugar. We've got fat reinforcements incoming. This sets off a domino effect. The liver starts upgrading its machinery, the pancreas tweaks insulin levels. Muscles ready themselves for a new fuel source. It's like the entire cabinet of your metabolic government calls an emergency meeting, all triggered by one change. Visceral fat flipping the switch. And while you're just sitting there, maybe feeling a little hungry or daydreaming about tea, inside you, a quiet metabolic revolution has begun. This explains why visceral fat loss doesn't just shrink your waistline. It changes the way your organs operate, smoother, smarter, and with fewer hormonal hiccups. In short, your body targets visceral fat first, not because it's weak, but because it's dangerous when ignored and extremely powerful when mobilized. Once it starts melting, you're not just burning fat, you're sending a system-wide memo. It's time to run cleaner, faster, and stronger. When visceral fat begins to melt, there's no dramatic bang or shaking like in a blockbuster movie. But deep inside you, a high-level biological war is quietly unfolding where powerful hormones like cortisol, insulin, leptin, and adiponectin are shifting ranks, issuing new commands, and even declaring truce after years of metabolic tension. Let's start with cortisol, the stress hormone. In the presence of visceral fat, it used to stay elevated, constantly on alert. But once that fat begins to vanish, chronic inflammation cools down, like extinguishing a long simmering fire. Cortisol eases off. Your nervous and immune systems finally get a chance to recalibrate. You may not notice it immediately, but this drop in internal vigilance helps you sleep better, feel less fatigued, and stay more emotionally stable. Then there's insulin, the glucose manager. As visceral fat shrinks, insulin sensitivity improves. Your cells no longer need to be shouted at to absorb sugar, a whisper is enough. Insulin resistance fades, blood sugar stabilizes, and the risk of type 2 diabetes plummets. You even start craving sugar less, because your body is no longer desperate for fast energy. Next comes leptin, the I'm full hormone. With excess visceral fat, leptin signals were muted, leaving the brain clueless about satiety. But now, leptin regains its voice, and the brain listens. You feel full naturally, no more willpower battles against hunger. But the real front line is the liver, the first organ to receive the fatty acid flood from visceral fat breakdown. If your body were a factory, the liver is the processing plant. At first, it's overwhelmed. But it doesn't complain, it upgrades. The liver increases fat-burning enzymes, especially those for fatty acid oxidation and ketone production. It processes fat faster, more cleanly, and with fewer inflammatory byproducts. As a result, liver enzymes drop, fatty liver improves, and the liver returns to being your body's filtration system, not a fat storage site. This whole sequence feels like a hormonal reformation where the chaos calms, communication sharpens, and collaboration begins. What you get is a flexible, resilient metabolism, one that's no longer working against you, but with you. After the initial shock of receiving a flood of fatty acids from melting visceral fat, the liver, often considered the command center of metabolism, doesn't collapse. It adapts. Quietly, yet remarkably, it enters a phase of high-efficiency metabolic restructuring. The first major change is an increase in fat oxidation capacity. Enzymes like CPT1, carnitine palmitoyltransferase 1, and HADH, hydroxyacyl-CoA dehydrogenase, are upregulated, allowing the liver to switch from glucose to fatty acids as its primary fuel source. This boosts energy production significantly, and the resulting ketones generate cleaner, less inflammatory energy compared to glucose. But the liver doesn't just burn fat better, it also performs its biochemical duties with renewed strength. Its functions like detoxification, blood sugar regulation, and hormone processing, estrogen, cortisol, testosterone, all improve. This could explain why many people report clearer skin, emotional stability, and sharper focus during extended fasting. Hormones are no longer backed up or circulating excessively. One compelling study from Washington University, 2023, found that individuals practicing intermittent fasting for 8 weeks saw liver enzyme levels, ALT, drop by 25% on average, with MRI scans confirming improvements in fatty liver conditions. Fasting, when done safely, doesn't harm the liver, it actually gives it space to heal. Another key factor: reduction in systemic inflammation. As visceral fat breaks down, inflammatory cytokines like TNF-alpha and IL-6 also decline. This reduces inflammatory pressure on the liver, heart, and blood vessels, allowing them to function more efficiently. Less vascular inflammation means steadier blood pressure. A less stressed heart beats more regularly and effectively delivers oxygen. All of these upgrades don't come from starvation, they come from removing metabolic overload and chronic inflammation. Fasting, done right, is like spring cleaning your internal systems, giving your liver, the silent heart of survival, the chance to thrive again. Visceral fat isn't just a storage depot, it's a chronic inflammatory hotspot. Imagine it as a quiet flame, burning inside your body day and night. Not dramatic like a fever or swollen joint, but just enough to damage tissues, disrupt hormones, and keep your immune system in a constant state of irritation. Why does this happen? Because visceral fat cells constantly release inflammatory cytokines like TNF-alpha, IL-6, and resistin, which push the body into a prolonged state of internal warfare. And when inflammation becomes your default mode, every system, cardiovascular, neurological, digestive, takes a hit. Here's the beautiful twist. When visceral fat starts to break down, these inflammatory embers begin to fade. Cytokine levels decrease. Immune cells like macrophages, which were previously stuck in attack mode, now switch roles from fighters to repair crews. This sparks a domino effect of healing across the immune system. T cells get restructured, inflammatory signals are downregulated, and most importantly, damaged tissues begin to heal. Less inflammation in blood vessels means smoother circulation. The liver, kidneys, brain all benefit from the lowered immune strain. A study from the Karolinska Institute in Sweden showed that just 10–14 days of intermittent fasting reduced CRP, C-reactive protein, a key marker of systemic inflammation, by 30–40% in individuals with high visceral fat. Thanks to this drop in inflammation, people often report feeling lighter, with clearer skin, smoother digestion, and even a better mood. That's because when the immune system is no longer busy battling phantom fires, it can finally return to doing what it's meant to do: protect you from real threats. So melting visceral fat isn't just about looking leaner, it's about liberating your body from the smoky haze of chronic inflammation that's been silently burning you from the inside out. Imagine that visceral fat isn't just a fuel tank, it's also a toxic warehouse. Over the years, your body has quietly stored excess environmental toxins, heavy metals, pesticides, food additives, cosmetic chemicals in fat cells, especially in visceral fat. Why? Because when the body can't eliminate them right away, it wisely locks them away for safety. But then one day, you start fasting. Visceral fat breaks down, and boom, the vault bursts open. All those stored substances are suddenly released into your bloodstream, and your liver, kidneys, and lymphatic system go into overdrive, working to neutralize and eliminate the mess. And while this cleanup is necessary, you might feel it: fatigue, temporary brain fog, mild digestive issues, or mood swings. Don't panic, your body isn't breaking down. It's just spring cleaning on a cellular level. Like any good decluttering session, it gets messy before it gets better. One of the most fascinating ripple effects is in the gut microbiome. As inflammation drops and the toxic load decreases, your gut becomes less acidic and more hospitable to beneficial bacteria like lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. These microbes improve digestion, boost serotonin production, and help regulate your immune system. And here's where the magic happens. When your gut heals, your brain follows, thanks to the gut-brain axis. Less inflammation in the gut equals fewer stress signals to the brain equals more emotional stability and clearer thinking. This is why so many people report better sleep, improved mood, and sharper focus after extended fasting. It's not a placebo, it's a real biological transformation. In short, melting visceral fat doesn't just slim your waistline. It unleashes a cascade of healing, detoxifying your cells, renewing your gut, and stabilizing your mood. So if you feel a little off in the beginning, just know, that's the last of the chaos being cleared. Once your body has detoxed, tamed inflammation, and rebalanced hormones, it enters a golden phase scientists call metabolic flexibility. This is the ability to switch effortlessly between glucose and fat as energy sources, and it's one of the most important signs of long-term health. Think of your body like a car. If you could only run on gas, glucose, you'd stall every time fuel got low. But with metabolic flexibility, your body becomes a hybrid engine, smoothly transitioning to burning stored fat, both visceral and subcutaneous, and even ketones, which are clean-burning, long-lasting fuels produced by the liver. At the center of this transformation are the mitochondria, your cellular power plants. Once sluggish, they now ramp up ATP production, your cell's energy currency, while producing less oxidative stress. The result? More energy, clearer focus, and less fatigue throughout the day. No sugar crashes, no caffeine needed. But here's the kicker. When visceral fat breaks down, it unclogs hormonal signaling, making it easier for your body to burn subcutaneous fat, the stuff just under your skin. This includes the stubborn fat in your belly, thighs, and arms. Before, your hormones were confused. Now, they're laser-focused. You begin to notice real results in the mirror. Your appetite stabilizes, cravings decrease, your energy lasts longer. It's not just weight loss, it's a recalibration of how your body handles energy. This is what makes visceral fat loss so powerful. It doesn't just change how you look, it changes how you function, from the inside out. The best part? This flexibility becomes your new normal. No more feeling like a prisoner to sugar. No more panicking when a meal is skipped. Your body adapts, thrives, and keeps moving forward. Because losing visceral fat isn't the end of the journey, it's the beginning of a smarter, more adaptable metabolism. It might sound odd, but when visceral fat melts, your gut microbiome throws the first celebration. Why? Picture your gut as an ecological garden. There are flowers, good bacteria, weeds, bad bacteria, and climate, inflammation. Visceral fat, like chronic scorching sunlight, has been drying up the soil, encouraging weeds, and wilting the blooms. But once that fat dissolves, the garden breathes again. The biggest shift? Low-grade inflammation finally subsides, allowing beneficial bacteria like bifidobacterium and lactobacillus to thrive. These little guys don't just digest fiber, they help your body produce serotonin, the feel-good neurotransmitter linked to happiness, calmness, and sleep. As these microbes multiply, the effects cascade. Lighter digestion, better mood, calmer nerves. This is the power of the gut-brain axis. Your gut quietly sends signals to your brain, saying, "Hey, we're safe now." In return, your brain dials down stress and lets your body rest and repair. Research from the University of California shows that up to 90% of serotonin is made in the gut, and chronic inflammation from visceral fat can suppress that production. So, when the fat begins to fade, your mental health gets a surprising boost. Some people describe feeling light in the gut and light in the head after a few weeks of fasting, not a placebo effect, but a biological sign that their gut flora is recovering. Common issues like bloating, irritability, insomnia, they often improve as the gut regains its balance. And here's the kicker. You don't need fancy probiotics. Just create the right environment and your good bacteria will do the rest. If visceral fat were an annoying neighbor who never left your house, its breakdown is like finally kicking out the toxic roommate. And the ones celebrating the most? Your heart, pancreas, and blood vessels. As this deep fat recedes, insulin resistance begins to drop. That means your cells finally start listening to insulin again, no longer slamming the door on glucose. The result? More stable blood sugar, a less stressed pancreas, and a significant drop in type 2 diabetes risk. Simultaneously, your cholesterol levels balance out. When visceral fat dominates, it messes with the ratio of good HDL to bad LDL cholesterol, increasing plaque buildup in your arteries. But as it melts away, the lipid war cools off, allowing your cardiovascular system to breathe easier. According to studies by the American Heart Association, just a 10% reduction in visceral fat can lower your risk of heart disease and stroke by up to 30%. That's not a gym commercial, that's pure physiology. You'll also notice more stable blood pressure, smoother heart rhythms, and less chest tightness because your heart no longer has to wrestle with fat hugging every artery. In short, losing visceral fat isn't just about the scale, it's about protecting your life support systems. And the best part? No medication required, just give your body space to repair itself through smart fasting, better sleep, and less stress. Visceral fat isn't just a waste energy reserve, it's a center of disruption, interfering with the body's hormone regulation. When this fat disappears, you not only feel lighter, but your endocrine system also starts talking to each other properly again. Previously, leptin, the satiety hormone, may have been screaming, "We're full," but the brain was blocked. The result? Endless eating. As visceral fat decreases, leptin resistance begins to recover. The signals are transmitted more clearly. The brain receives the message, "Stop now." Similarly, ghrelin, the hunger hormone, stops fluctuating wildly like a stock market chart. You no longer feel unexpectedly hungry. Your eating rhythm returns to balance, creating a more stable and manageable feeling. Especially adiponectin, a hormone that helps increase fat burning and regulate blood sugar surges. This is the silent ally that has been suppressed by visceral fat for so long. When it returns, fat metabolism becomes more efficient, blood sugar is more stable, and the body functions more smoothly. In short, when visceral fat retreats, the entire hormonal system begins to reharmonize. No more talking at cross purposes, but a well-coordinated biological orchestra. And that is the key to maintaining sustainable fat loss, without rebound, stress, or fatigue. When visceral fat, the silent saboteur, is finally dismantled, your body doesn't just breathe easier. It activates a deep repair mode, shifting from fat burning to biological rebuilding. This is no longer just about losing weight. This is about cellular renewal on a massive scale. Welcome to Biological Upgrade 2. With inflammation cooling down and hormonal chaos subsiding, your energy is redirected toward repairing tissues, not just surviving. Damaged cells get replaced, and autophagy, your body's internal janitor, keeps sweeping out toxic proteins, misfolded structures, and leftover metabolic trash. Recent studies show that mitochondria, the tiny power plants inside your cells, start firing more efficiently, generating cleaner energy, ATP, that leaves you feeling sharper, more resilient, and physically recharged. Your skin glows, muscles respond faster, and your immune system becomes smarter, all signs of deep, silent transformation happening under the surface. Organs like the liver, pancreas, and kidneys, once overwhelmed, now shed their metabolic burden and start working with renewed precision. It's like your entire system enters maintenance mode, fixing things you didn't even know were broken. And the best part? You didn't need a pill or a doctor to trigger this. All you did was stop eating for a while, and your body, designed by millions of years of evolution, kicked in its self-healing superpower. This is science-backed magic, silent, efficient, and completely natural. After burning through visceral fat, repairing cells, and resetting your hormones, the most important change isn't the number on the scale, it's this. Your body has now been reprogrammed not to store dangerous fat the way it used to. Your autonomic nervous system, the delicate balance between fight or flight and rest and digest, begins to stabilize. No longer stuck in artificial survival mode triggered by constant sugar, chronic stress, or poor sleep, your body's internal signals become clearer and more trustworthy. The biological set point, the energy balance your body naturally maintains, starts to shift. Instead of hoarding visceral fat like a bunker for hard times, your body now trusts its environment: clean nutrition, low stress, and metabolic safety. It no longer feels the need to build an emergency stash of toxic fat deep in your belly. The more you sustain a healthy lifestyle, real food, quality sleep, daily movement, and stable blood sugar, the more your body locks in this new state. You're not fighting your biology anymore, because your biology is now fighting for you. Visceral fat isn't just about belly size. It's a silent disruptor, fueling inflammation, hormonal chaos, cellular stress, emotional imbalance, and chronic disease risk. But the moment it starts to melt away, your body doesn't just lose fat, it transforms how it functions. The nervous system calms. Hormones begin to communicate again. The liver, gut, brain, they sync. Your energy, focus, mood all begin to stabilize, elevate, and feel lighter. This isn't magic. This is biology. And the best part? Your body has always been waiting for you to give it a chance to heal itself. If this video gave you insight into how deeply your body wants to heal, help us reach our first milestone of 1,000 subscribers by hitting that subscribe button. Every subscriber is a thank you and fuels our mission to bring more science-backed knowledge to the world. Because when you understand your body, you don't have to fear it. You can finally work with it,